Today we're doing a step-by-step breakdown of one of my favorite topics, negotiation. In this video, we will walk through the 6-step process you need in your life in order to negotiate your salary and overall total compensation successfully. That said, before we dive in, for anybody new here, hi, what's up? I'm Janelle. This is Janell Knows Money. I'm a compensation professional that's obsessed with helping you land the job and negotiate more pay so that you can live a freer life. Hit the subscribe button if this sounds interesting to you. I do my best to come out with new videos every single week. All right, let's get into it. The first step you need to take to negotiate your salary is to research what competitive market pay looks like for the job that you're applying for, or the job that you want, or even the job that you have right now. Researching market pay means that you should do the following things. First, you should do a mini compensation analysis. aka you need to find as many salary data points as you possibly can online and compile them all into a spreadsheet. From here, you're going to average those different salary data points that you pull to get a better idea of what the market pay actually looks like for this job. Compensation data online is self-reported, and so it isn't always accurate. So again, it's important to take the averaging step because no one site is going to be completely accurate. As a side note, I am planning on releasing a video in the next week or two about how to determine what your annual salary is, kind of going through and showing how to do this mini compensation analysis on your own. So stay tuned for that video. After you do your mini compensation analysis, you also need to have compensation conversations with recruiters that are hiring for jobs in your desired title. This means that even if you aren't necessarily interested in working at an organization, you still might want to apply to the job and take a phone interview with the recruiter. Typically at the end of that call, they'll ask you what your desired compensation is, and this is where you can have an open and honest conversation about compensation. Ask them what their budget is for the role, whether you're in alignment with that role, and whether you are or not, they will tell you, and then you can add that data point to your mini compensation analysis to better understand how someone in your desired job title is being paid. Another quick tip here is there is a difference between working with internal recruiters and external recruiters. If you are working with an external recruiter, they a lot of times are going to be a lot more open about talking about what pay might be for the role because they are a consultant to the organization and they are helping the organization find talent and bring that talent to them. So it's only in their best interest to get you paid more, because if you get paid more, they typically get paid more. And so working with them and being open and honest about what your compensation needs are and whether those are in alignment with the market is going to really help you understand what somebody in the role that you want should be paid. The last thing that you're going to do in order to better understand what the compensation should be like for the role that you want is talk to people in your network that you know, and maybe even some folks that you don't know. What this looks like is reaching out to perhaps, some peers that you had at previous companies who might be in a title or in a job that you do desire having, and asking them about what their compensation is for that role. If they're open to sharing it, maybe they'll give you a range of what fair pay might look like. Another example, if you're feeling up for it, is that you could find folks on LinkedIn that previously held the title that you're looking to move into. And you can send them a note asking if they'd be able to verify with you what fair compensation looks like for the role that they were in the past. Know that if you do this, it's kind of a cold call situation, which means it's a numbers game. You probably aren't going to hear back from 80% of people, but that 20% that you perhaps do hear back by, and I'm making these numbers up completely, I don't know what the ratios are, but there is going to be a small portion that you do hear back from, and those people that you do hear back from, that's going to be invaluable information for you to better understand what somebody in the role that you want is getting compensated. The second step that you need to take to negotiate your compensation is to compare your resume against the job posting. Once you have your resume and the job posting side by side, I want you to highlight the bullet points on the job posting that align with the experiences that you have on your resume. These are the justification points that you are going to use when having a conversation with the hiring manager about why you deserve to make more money. For example, if the job posting states that they're looking for somebody with 5+ years of experience leading a team and handling customer complaints, and you have 5+ years of experience doing this, it means that you already have the exact experience that they are looking for. aka the company won't have to spend tons of time and money training you for this position because you already know how to do the core duties and responsibilities of the role, which means that you are a valuable hire, which also means that you can advocate for yourself when it comes to getting paid more because you already have the skills that are necessary for someone to be successful in this role. Let me know if you have any questions about how to do this in the comments. I'm more than happy to help. The third step that you need to take to successfully negotiate your salary is to decide what your walk-away number is before you even start the interview process. Why before? Organizations bank on us falling in love with the company, their culture, the team, the work, and really the list could go on and on. And because they bank on us getting attached to the organization, you could go through through the entire interview process, only to receive an offer that is lower than what your expectations are. If we don't have a walkaway number, we could be tempted to take the job and not negotiate because we've invested so much time interviewing for this role and we've fallen in love with the company. However, if you do set that walkaway number from the start, you can do your best to negotiate to that number. And if the company can't match it, you then know what point in time it is to walk away and move on to another role and another opportunity. Note that there are always exceptions to this rule. This job could be at your dream organization, and getting your foot in the door might be more important than whatever it is the salary is that they're offering. And that's okay, because you know what's best for you. And if what's best for you is taking a job with a lower salary because of all of the other things this organization has to offer for you in your career, then that's something that you should be okay with doing as well, and is something that you can set from the start to know that if that does happen, you would be okay with that. The fourth step you need to outline before negotiating your compensation is deciding what even you'd like to negotiate. For example, are you only interested in negotiating your cash compensation, or are you also interested in negotiating other parts of your compensation? If you're interested in learning more about what you can negotiate, I have another video on my channel that is 8 things that you didn't know that you could negotiate. I also talk about this all the time on my TikTok if you'd be interested in learning about the other things that you didn't know that you could negotiate. So moving on, the reason that this is so important is because by understanding what parts of compensation are most important to you before going into the interview allows you to better advocate for your needs and wants. As an example, if the organization that offered you a job isn't able to come up in base salary, they might be able to offer you a higher level PTO plan, a sign-on bonus, remote work flexibility, an education stipend, and so many other components of compensation that might get you to a larger number that you feel comfortable with when it comes to total compensation, even if they might not be able to hit your base salary number. For some folks, having these other benefits might make up for the fact that their base salary isn't going to meet the exact amount that they were hoping for at the beginning of the interview process. But this isn't going to be the case for everybody. We all have different priorities, and for some of us, cash compensation is most important, while for others of us, we want those other additional benefits like more flexibility in the workplace and more PTO time. This is going to be unique to everybody, which again is why it's so important to decide what you want to negotiate for before you even go into the interview process. The fifth step in the negotiation process is to decide how you like to negotiate. Negotiating is a nerve-wracking experience. Trust me, I have been there. It can be intense and emotions can run really high, which is why it's important for you to decide ahead of time what type of environment is best for you to negotiate in. In my opinion, you have 2 options here. You can either negotiate live over the phone or you can negotiate via email. There are some myths out there that say you have to negotiate live over the phone, and I want to bust those for you today. Because as a compensation professional, I want you to know that you can negotiate via email very successfully. And unless you really want to, negotiating over the phone isn't necessary. And honestly, in my experience, a lot of recruiters and hiring managers are going to be glad that you decided to negotiate over email. Here's why. First, when you negotiate via email, you are able to take all of the time that you need to perfectly lay out all of the points you want to make in a clear, concise, and professional manner. Number 2, negotiating via email also then gives the recruiter and the hiring manager the time and space to receive your request and process it and think about what the next steps are. Which brings me to number 3. Recruiters don't typically approve whether or not your negotiation is approved. They typically have to chat with a lot of other parties outside of just themselves and the hiring manager to determine whether or not they can work with you on this negotiation. So when you're putting your request in via email, they can chat with all of the individuals that they need to have a conversation with, gather all of the information that they need, and then come back to you with a very full answer as to whether or not they can meet you on some of the points that you're asking for. Which brings me to my last point. By putting all of these points into an email, they are written down, they are recorded, and there is far less chance of any type of miscommunication occurring in the negotiation because you have very perfectly bullet pointed and outlined everything that you are looking for. Even with all of these points considered and my personal preferences for email, you need to decide what is going to be best for you when it comes to negotiating. There is no wrong answer. The 6th step that you need to take in order to successfully negotiate your salary or your total compensation is to write your negotiation email or write and practice your negotiation script. Regardless of whether it is you make the decision to do a negotiation via email or live over the phone, I would recommend connecting with a trusted friend to be your sounding board before before taking any action. Have them double check your email or ask them to hear your negotiation pitch. They might have a few hints and tips and tricks that might help you better advocate for yourself. And lastly, as a bonus point, I recommend taking a deep breath and just doing it. Make the call or send the email. Know that you've prepared and practiced and know exactly what you want and that you can do this. And if any of the folks watching this video right now have successfully negotiated their salary, I'd love to hear from you in the comments. I think it's important for folks that have never negotiated before to hear from people who have done it successfully so that they know they can do it too. Otherwise, if you have any questions for me, please leave those in the comments as well. Also, if you really like this content, please click the thumbs up button. It really helps me out, and also subscribe so that I know to make more videos like this. Hope you have a nice day. Bye.